In the year 1511, less than 20 years after Columbus stumbled upon the Americas, amidst the uncharted waters and burgeoning ambitions of Spain's conquest of the New World, a Spanish vessel set sail on a mission that would alter the course of history. The ship, bound from Panama to Santo Domingo, carried not only its crew and passengers, but also the seeds of one of the most extraordinary stories in the annals of exploration. In less than 20 years, the Spanish crown had already entrenched itself in the Caribbean region, a staging ground for expeditions further afield. Columbus's historic landing in 1492 had sparked an era of rapid exploration and colonization. Islands such as Hispaniola, Cuba, and Puerto Rico became hubs of Spanish activity, feeding the empire's insatiable appetite for wealth and territory. Hernán Cortés, Diego Velázquez, and other conquistadors operated from these bases, preparing for expeditions into the unknown interiors of Central and South America. The Spanish brought highly advanced ships like caravels, galleons, and brigantines equipped with cannons and firearms, which were far superior to indigenous watercraft. Their ships allowed them to dominate open waters and even navigate rivers to launch attacks on inland settlements. Spanish expeditions in the Yucatan Peninsula often relied on their navy to land troops and supplies along the coast. The Maya resisted Spanish incursions for nearly 170 years, using their knowledge of the terrain and waterways to evade large-scale confrontations. Maya canoes were often spotted traveling across the Caribbean Sea, and these encounters provided the Spanish with intelligence on the region's wealth and trade networks. The Caribbean waters, however, were perilous. Beyond the dangers posed by hurricanes, reefs, and uncharted currents, ships carried human cargo, including Spanish settlers and indigenous captives. This was the environment in which the ill-fated ship embarked on its journey. Panama had already become a critical outpost for Spanish exploration and expansion. Vasco Núñez de Balboa had established settlements in the area, laying the groundwork for Spain's control of the Isthmus of Panama. The region was of immense strategic importance, acting as a bridge between the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. Though the famous discovery of the Pacific by Balboa would occur in 1513, the Spanish already recognized Panama as a vital base for expeditions into South America and the rich lands rumored to lie beyond. In 1511, ships set sail from an outpost in Panama to the Spanish stronghold of Santo Domingo, carrying a complement of 16 men and 2 women. Unbeknownst to its passengers, their journey would never reach its intended port. Some accounts refer to the ship as the Valdivia expedition, named after Captain Pedro de Valdivia, who led the voyage. However, the specific name of the vessel remains uncertain. During the voyage, it struck a reef near Jamaica, leading to its wreck. The survivors drifted in a small boat before landing on the Yucatan coast, where they were captured by the Maya. The Maya, especially in coastal regions like the Yucatan Peninsula, had a long tradition of seafaring, using canoes for trade, fishing, and exploration. Large Mayan canoes, capable of holding 40 to 50 people, were used for trade along the coasts and across the Caribbean Sea. Coastal Mayan cities such as Tulum and Chichen Itza were strategically located to monitor and control maritime trade routes. While not a traditional naval power, the Maya relied on their knowledge of the coastlines and shallow waters to evade or resist Spanish incursions. Tulum, located on the Yucatan coast, was a walled city and a crucial trade hub. It controlled maritime routes and facilitated the exchange of goods, including obsidian and jade, across the Yucatan Peninsula and beyond. The city's strategic position allowed the Maya to coordinate maritime movements and monitor Spanish naval activities along the coast. Chichen Itza, a former political and religious center, retained its symbolic importance during this time. Its grand temples and cenotes, such as the sacred cenote, demonstrated Maya engineering and spiritual dedication. The legacy of Chichen Itza's militaristic prowess was undoubtedly influential in Maya resistance efforts against the Spanish. Initially, the shipwrecked Spaniards were treated with a degree of hospitality, as the Maya may have viewed them as emissaries from distant lands. However, their fate quickly darkened when they were captured by a Maya lord. The Spaniards were marched inland and held in captivity in a village deep within Maya territory. While some of the captives were used as laborers, others faced a grimmer end. Most of the group were sacrificed to Maya gods as part of ritual ceremonies. However, 2 survivors, Geronimo de Aguilar and Gonzalo Guerrero, were spared, likely because they had skills that were seen as valuable. They were enslaved and distributed to different Maya households, where they were tasked with menial labor and forced to adapt to the rigors of Maya life. Aguilar was reportedly taken to a settlement near present-day Chetumal, while Guerrero's exact whereabouts during his early captivity remains less clear. What is evident is that both men, though initially united in their plight, would soon diverge in how they adapted to their new reality. Geronimo de Aguilar remained steadfast in his faith and loyalty to Spain. As a Franciscan friar, he clung to his religious convictions, praying and keeping the semblance of his Spanish identity intact despite the hardships of years of enslavement. Aguilar's servitude was marked by his strict adherence to celibacy and rejection of Maya customs, which he viewed as incompatible with his Christian beliefs. Nonetheless, over the years, Aguilar learned the Maya language, an adaptation born of necessity, but one that would later prove invaluable. His linguistic skills and knowledge of Maya customs positioned him as an asset when Hernán Cortés arrived on the Yucatan coast in 1519. Aguilar managed to escape his captors and join Cortés's expedition, serving as an interpreter, whose translation skills were critical to Cortés's conquest of the Aztec Empire. Aguilar's return to the Spanish Empire was celebrated, his loyalty rewarded with a role in one of history's most consequential campaigns. Yet his counterpart, Gonzalo Guerrero, a military expert, chose a path that diverged sharply from Aguilar's steadfast allegiance to his homeland. Gonzalo Guerrero's story is one of transformation and defiance. While Aguilar maintained his Spanish identity, Guerrero embraced Maya culture, integrating himself so thoroughly that he became one of them. He married a Maya noblewoman and fathered 3 children, among the first mestizos, the mixed-race descendants of Europeans and indigenous peoples in the Americas. Guerrero adapted to Maya life, learning their language, and even tattooing his body and piercing his ears in accordance with local practices. His military experience made him invaluable as a leader and strategist in the fractious world of Maya city-states. Guerrero trained Maya warriors in European tactics, blending them with indigenous methods to create a formidable resistance against Spanish incursions. When Hernán Cortés attempted to bring Guerrero back to the Spanish side in 1519, Guerrero declined, reportedly stating, "I am married and have 3 children, and the Maya look on me as a chief and leader when wars arise. I am Maya. My face is tattooed, my ears are pierced, and I am a slave no longer." Guerrero's defection was both a personal choice and a political statement. He sided with the Maya, resisting Spanish conquest until his death in battle around 1536. Guerrero's decision to stay with the Maya and oppose his countrymen showcased his profound transformation, symbolizing a rejection of colonial oppression and a commitment to his adopted people. Indeed, Guerrero met his end during a Spanish attack on the Maya stronghold near Lake Bacalar in 1536. By this time, Spanish forces had begun systematically subjugating the Yucatan Peninsula, targeting key Maya cities and strongholds. Guerrero, having risen to the status of a respected war leader among the Maya, led a defense force to repel the Spanish invaders. The battle was fierce, with Guerrero's Maya troops employing guerrilla tactics and exploiting their knowledge of the terrain to delay the Spanish advance. However, the Spanish forces, armed with superior weaponry including cannons and firearms, eventually overpowered the Maya defenders. Guerrero was mortally wounded during the fighting, possibly struck by musket fire. His death marked a symbolic turning point in the resistance, as the Maya lost a key strategist and unifier. Though the Spanish ultimately triumphed in the engagement, Guerrero's legacy has endured among the Maya as a hero who had embraced their cause and fought valiantly to defend their sovereignty. His death also underscored the broader tragedy of indigenous resistance against European colonization, a clash of worlds that reshaped the Americas forever. The final defeat of the Maya occurred at the capital of the Yucatan Maya, located on an island in a large Yucatan lake in 1697. Spanish forces built boats to cross the lake and attack the island. The Maya were unable to resist the Spanish forces armed with muskets and cannons. The capture of the stronghold marked the end of Maya resistance and the completion of Spanish conquest in Mesoamerica. The prolonged resistance of the Maya, particularly in the Yucatan regions, demonstrated their resilience but ultimately succumbed to Spanish naval and military superiority. Naval superiority gave the Spanish a decisive edge in their conquest of Mesoamerica, allowing them to transport troops, secure supply lines, and impose their control over vast territories. Thank you for watching, and let us know what you think in the comments. And as always, please like and subscribe to our channel.